All right, so now we're going to get into some really fun stuff. If you've ever done a search on website accessibility, you've probably seen ads for these accessibility overlays and widgets, and they claim to fix your accessibility problems and protect you from lawsuits. Some of those prominent ones are Accessibility, UserWay, and AudioEye, but there's dozens of others. All these companies have massive marketing budgets, and they dominate the search results for anything related to website accessibility. These widgets and overlays, they might fix some problems, but they can't fix everything. And as you'll see in a few minutes, they often create more issues than they fix. These overlay companies make so many false claims, though, that I just can't get into them all in this presentation. I encourage anybody who's interested to go to overlayfalseclaims.com and overlayfactsheet.com to read more about these issues from people with actual disabilities and from accessibility industry professionals. There's even a section on one of these pages that has quotes from people with disabilities. Some of them say things like, "I finally managed to gain access to my Namecheap account by blocking accessibility in my Windows host file. It's still a pain to even try reading the article on a mobile device because of the constant interruptions every few seconds. And accessibility makes it harder to use by getting in the way of browsing and changing access barriers on a page, not by fixing them. A student and I came across an enhanced website, and to my shame, we left because navigating that mess was beyond my skill on that day." So most of these products feed on your fear by stating that they're going to protect your business from lawsuits and they'll shield you from litigation. The truth is, despite these marketing messages of overlay vendors, their claims of legal protection have been proven false. In 2021 alone, over 200 companies have been sued despite already having purchased an overlay. Of those lawsuits, the accessibility product was present on 95 of them the day that the lawsuit was filed against the defendant. And to make matters worse, adding an overlay to your site might actually run counter to end user preferences for privacy, and it can create risk of noncompliance for things like GDPR and CCPA. So in some cases, you might be worse off with these things than you are without them. These overlay companies, they do so much false advertising and they're so harmful that the National Federation of the Blind launched a publicity attack on the overlay companies, accusing them of engaging in harmful practices and false advertising. They also banned the market leader Accessibility from its national convention. So again, more ammo against these things. All of this is made even more confusing, though, by the affiliate and white labeling programs that they offer companies and their partners. They get bloggers and agencies and developers to publish content related to their products in exchange for affiliate revenues. And they white label their product so accessibility agencies can sell it as their own in-house solution. So because of these programs, hundreds of new accessibility specialists have appeared almost overnight, writing articles and reselling this garbage. Yeah, I find all these tactics dishonest and harmful to my clients. So I made a commitment early on not to take affiliate revenues or to white label products, just so I can avoid this sort of conflict of interest. All right, now are you ready to have a little bit of fun? Let's go ahead and enable the accessibility for visually impaired option. And this is part of the UserWay overlay. Right off the bat, I'm seeing just a ton of problems here. First of all, I can no longer read the logo. I can hover over it and get the information, and that's okay, but I can't see the logo. This white text that was on darker green is now white text on top of a very, very light green. So now it's just almost impossible to read. We've got these black boxes. I can't see what any of them are unless I hover over them. It looks like I visited insurance, business insurance, personal insurance, and employee benefits. Did a cool little HDR effect on the photo. These icons are much harder to see. Under the Erie insurance section, again, we have boxes that I can't read at all. It made that green a lime green, which also makes it harder to read with this white text. And again, we have these black boxes that tell us absolutely nothing. It did bring the contrast up on some of the text here, although it left the contrast alone with some other text. We've got more white text on lime green. It did a HDR looking thing to this image. Now it did stop these things from pulsing, and that's great. And it seemed to give us some sort of hover text. Let's see. But they all seem to say life. So I don't know what's happening there. Let's try clicking on one. Didn't do anything at all to this panel. A group of people playing on a playground, awesome. So it really didn't do anything to help with this other than stop the pulsing. It really messed up our typography here under latest articles. So this is actually harder to read now. Again, white text on lime green. It improved some of the contrast here on the footer. We now have light green text on a white background. That's very difficult to read as well. So that's kind of cool, right? Let's go ahead and disable some of this. Oh, wait, look at the other thing it did. It put the UserWay widget over top of the icon that we would use to sign up for the newsletter. So we've now lost the functionality to sign up for the newsletter for Joseph W. McCartan Insurance. Cool. Let's go ahead and close the accessibility widget. Now, this is what I find really funny, is that UserWay, which is supposed to make things more accessible, has also used this white text on lime green, and I can't even really read half of this stuff. Even this button here to reset all accessibility settings is extremely hard to read and understand. Great job, UserWay. All right, now we're back to normal, and I can start seeing the site again. That was pretty cool. One more thing that I want to show you, and you're going to find this really interesting, is UserWay getting in the way of other things. So I'm going to start by opening up our wave testing tool. And watch what happens. Right now, this is how our background looks. White text on top of the pictures. Black text on white boxes. You also notice that it's taking a long time for Wave to load. And that's because the Wave script is actually jumping in and changing the site. So the Wave script has now made that white text on top of the background. It's now put a black background on top of all that. So it's actually fudging the results of the Wave evaluation tool. And as we go through, we're seeing that it's done this in a lot of places where it's taken that white text and it's putting a black background on there. This isn't doing anything at all to help accessibility. This is only helping the scores, and it's only keeping automated testers from seeing the real results and the real issues that are on a page. So it's quite possible that using a tool like this may actually open you up to more problems than it solves if somebody comes through and says, great, you've got all these accessibility problems, but you obviously know that they're there and you're trying to just hide them. So I would be really cautious about using UserWay for this reason. And frankly, all the accessibility tools are the same way. Accessibility is just as bad, if not worse, in so many other ways. I managed to completely disable UserWay just by blocking it on my computer. And I ran the same Wave tool with UserWay enabled and then without UserWay enabled, with UserWay completely blocked. And you can see over here on the left, with UserWay enabled, it's done a bunch of stuff to mess with the page. And we have 0 errors and 0 contrast errors. And then with UserWay completely disabled, we have 0 errors and about 2,500 contrast errors, as well as alerts, features, structural elements. And you see here we've got 152 ARIA things that are in use. And when UserWay was enabled, we have 208. You'll see that in a little bit when we go through and do a deeper dive into what's going on. It seems like UserWay may have put some ARIA elements in place that shouldn't be there. So I've seen several places where we have a row of heading. Let's see if I can find them again. Have been set on actual headings. So we can see, here's one example where we have an element that has an H3, but it has an ARIA level of 2, which means that someone's trying to fake this as a level 2 heading when in fact it's a level 3 element. And the reason why they would fake it as being a level 2 would be to potentially make it pass a test that it wouldn't otherwise pass. I did check this same thing with UserWay disabled, and it failed. This ARIA level 2 thing was actually inserted by UserWay. It wasn't inserted by the theme or the person who developed the site. So again, we have a place where UserWay is trying to hide a real problem. It's trying to mask a real problem just by putting some sort of workaround in. That doesn't help anybody. All it does is try to make it pass a test. So the net here is that the UserWay widget is doing absolutely nothing for JW McCartan, except costing them money and slowing down the website. And in some cases, it really is opening them up to liability issues since it's hiding the real accessibility problems. If you have any questions at all or want to get in touch with me, again, my name's Adam Lowe, president of Peak Performance Digital. We've got my phone number, 202-902-6050. My website is peakperformancedigital.com. My email address is adam@peakperformancedigital.com. You can download these slides. Just go to peakperformancedigital.com/GSSCC-website-accessibility-webinar. And if you want a free accessibility report, which by the way, it's going to be a very short report. It's not going to be anything nearly as detailed as this, but it will give you an overview of the accessibility problems that we find. If you would like one of these free reports, just email me, give me your contact information, your company information, your website, and we'll get that back out to you in 1 to 3 days. So thank you again to everybody who attended. Thank you to Bell Flowers and Joseph W. McCartan for letting me use your websites as guinea pigs. And I hope to talk to you all soon.